Good thing my head wasn't down there. Okay, head coming off. Let's see. Didn't need this wrench. No. Okay. Okay, and place it off to the side. Well, the frame is back and it's more or less clean. Now, the only thing that would have been a little better is the pop rivets, and I guess I used way too many steel pop rivets when I put this thing together the first time. So there are still pop rivet shanks still left in parts of the frame. So I'm going to spend some time popping those into the frame. I might have to squirt some undercoating inside at some point to see if I can get them to all lodge in one area. But also there's sections of the frame that have to be welded, and I have to mark them. I want to try and put a bracket on the back to mount the 4-point harness. So that has to be sort of mocked up with a piece of cardboard and taped into roughly in position there for the welder to manufacture something. And then I have to flip it over because there are still a lot of pop rivet holes on the bottom, and I think there's going to be lots of little shanks in there. So I'm going to spend some time here cleaning up this side, flip the whole thing over, clean up the other side, and then mark those holes that have to be welded, and then it's going back out of the garage again. Well, after turning it over and doing a little bit of wire brushing along the bottom, I discovered a little bit of perforation damage in here, and this is very thin. In fact, I can push right through this at this particular section of the frame. So this is something that's going to have to be maybe a new piece welded in here or a build-up section stuck on top. But you know, you can see it's very thin, and that's not good. So this is going to definitely be marked for repair. I put some masking tape on the bottom of the frame where the floor is going to go back. And I've written on it, leave holes. So hopefully he'll be able to fill all the other holes in the frame, get rid of any of the pop rivet holes that are still here. I've also mounted the motor mounts back in the frame so that he knows that those holes up front have to be sleeved. I know back here where the muffler attaches, I'm going to put the mount for that muffler right in this hole so that he knows that this one also has to be sleeved. All the other holes are all fair game. There's not a lot of wire in this car, but what little wire there is, you have to make sure it works properly. There's a bit of frayed wrapping on this particular piece. So what I'm going to do is I've got some of this plastic coating that I've stuck on in years past. That's all going to be stripped off, and we're going to get in there and take the original electrical tape. Well, this is not original, this is green, stuff that I've added over the years. It's all coming off. We're going to clean the wires off, make sure they're in good shape, and rewrap them and get them so that if there are any frayed ends or there are any bits of electrical wire that are compromised, we're going to correct for that. Here's exactly the kind of stuff I'm looking for. I'm not too sure what this switch is for. It might be the headlights, but it has melted the connector back and the insulation on this wire. It goes further back up the harness and into the actual harness. So this is this will be traced back and replaced. I must have just decided to patch it up with some electrical tape when it melted, and just to keep the car on the road. But this is one of the reasons you forget these things. You forget all of the bad stuff. You only remember the good times when you're out on the road with the sun shining and the warm winds blowing through your hair, what little hair I have. So this is something I'll have to correct. Some of this stuff is very old, has never been unwrapped before. Here, by the way, is the wonderful fuse box. 2 whole fuses to prevent this car from catching fire. Most of the stuff is wired directly to the battery, such as the headlights, and everything else goes through these 2 little tiny fuses. The wonders of modern technology. This green stuff from the back is horrible. It is just, it would make great fly paper. It's got way too much adhesive on it. And I don't even know if I should touch the camera after I finish with this. I've tried to get some of the glue off with some alcohol. Here's some that have got some insulation, electrical tape, welded onto the wire. This wire either got pinched or got hot. Well, I've been very busy. The frame is back, and I've done a little bit of work on some of the box sections. There's one piece that's been cut out already. I'm trying to do them in stainless steel. It may be a little bit tougher to work with, but it will definitely resist any of the corrosions that might come into the engine compartment as a result of spilling. The differential is out of the rear axle, and the rear axle is going to be going off to get powder coated. The transmission is off at another location to see if I can get a drive shaft for it. Several pieces have been powder coated along with the frame. These are the front fender and headlight mounts. Some stuff, it doesn't really make too much sense. So I've powder coated some of the springs and the lower A-arms for the front suspension. The shocks are off the springs, and taking the springs off, taking the springs off the shocks is a little bit like defusing a mine. When we get around to actually putting them back on the new shocks, that's going to be even more risky, may I say. Some people have actually told me they won't put springs like this on shocks anymore. They've had incidences in the past where the things have come loose, hit someone in the shoulder, dislocated a shoulder. So I've got a couple of metal clips back there. I'm going to try and do it myself, but if it proves a little too risky, I'll take this and farm it out to someone else. So I'm in the process right now of trying to mock up a little bit of a box section for the front footwell. The last one didn't really work very well because it actually rubbed against the transmission tunnel. These are the pedals. They've been all cleaned up and they've been off the, well, they're off the car. And I'm going to just sort of dry fit them in position here. See if, how does that work again? Well, a little hard to fit because the clips to hold this box section are kind of in the way. But it looks like they've got lots of clearance. There's also the accelerator, wherever the accelerator's gone to. So we'll just hold it by hand and we'll position the accelerator in here. And as you can see, it just sort of touches against this, what will be the box section. And that may be enough for full throttle. So I think I'll probably go with this design. So I'm trying to cut a pattern out here for the one of the sides of this footwell. Okay. So that seems to be good there. The top portion will definitely have to come down. We'll do a score mark from there down to this push and over here and see if this will pull in to accommodate. So I'm going to try to take advantage of this little bit of a roll here at this end and allow a little bit of clearance for these tabs. Ow! It's going to flatten out a little bit as the fold takes place. So this one is the first fold. We'll tighten everything up, and then I'm just going to give it a little bit of a wallop with the rubber mallet. So this is how I did most of the other portions that have been done up until now. We'll move these out of the way. You end up taking the angle iron. In this case, I've got a larger one, and we clamp it on to the table with the C-clamps. I actually went looking for metal brakes to do this, but they're very expensive. The ones that are inexpensive, I think I'd probably end up breaking them before they'd break these pieces of metal. So I think it's similar to the way the car was actually manufactured, because they would bend the metal over the frame to get it to form to the frame. So we're going to do Same thing, rubber mallet so it doesn't bruise the metal. Now all the tabs are preventing it from making a precise fit, but the rough bending looks like it's perfect. Well, one thing about tabbing it is it does tend to flatten the metal out. So trying to flatten the metal without the tabs is kind of a waste of time. This one at least I can do all in one shot here. Well, it's not pretty, but it might actually fit. And it could clean up and be reasonably nice, but it's still got some fussing to do. So I'm going to do a little more dry fitting of some of these panels. Find out which ones actually go where. Aluminum would be so much easier to work with. I want to clean up some of these other pieces because they're going over to the powder coating place. Just a bit of steel wool and now a couple of screws to remove. This is just held on by a couple of hose clamps. And it was on the original stainless steel exhaust pipe that was part of the original two side draft Weber carburetor configuration. But we went with the bigger pipe because it was part of the turbo installation. And I had this shroud on the old muffler, and it was provided to keep you from burning your leg when you got in and out of the car. So I figured, well, it sort of fit on here. I had to compress it a little bit to get it to accommodate itself to the size of the pipe. But it helped dress up the side of the car a little bit. And it also kept me from burning my leg. You only burn your leg once on the muffler on this car. And it's very easy to do getting in and out of it. You also are a little concerned when people come up to you, especially little kids who are interested in the car, because if you've just arrived, then the tailpipe is hot. And you don't want anybody burning themselves coming up and touching the thing by accident. This is the super trap. It's basically the muffler on this pipe. And I see it's been rubbing here. There's actually a big gap now in the bottom end of it. And I guess I'm going to take this off and replace this piece because it's been damaged. I don't know, it must have been when it fell off the side of the car at one point in the last little while, where the actual rubber mount broke and it was dragging on the ground. Looks a little bit like a slinky, but it's not. These things are just, oh, it's full of carbon. They're just a way for the gas to get out of the tailpipe and reduce the sound at the same time. Well, some of the other parts that I wanted to get powder coated have just come back from the powder coating place. And it's a little pricey, but I think it's well worth the trouble. They turned out beautifully. Brake drums, clutch and brake pedals, accelerator pedal. This is the turbocharger, see, nice and shiny. And this is never going to deteriorate, it's never going to yellow. These two pieces, I don't drop it, fit together roughly like that. Got a nice down pipe here, also nice and shiny. As well as the powder coated parts coming back, I've also had A visit from the courier from England. Okay, so I ordered some shock absorbers. Those are the rears, SPACs, rear shock absorbers. Oh, they're adjustable. I didn't want adjustables, but I guess that's all I had. There's a steering column here. Let's see if I can get that out. It's supposed to be collapsible. These are the, no, that's a top link. I ordered replacement top links for the front suspension. Front shock absorbers. What else have we got in here? Okay, this will be the other top link. So this is supposed to be all the necessary bushings that I need to redo the car. And that would be the other half of the steering column. And there's nothing else in there. These two pieces, I would imagine, fit together somehow. I don't think they'd send me something that wasn't going to work, but being the cynical kind of guy that I am, yeah, I don't know how that's going to work, but there's got to be a clip or something missing. Well, first off, I can tell you that the threads are different on the top, so I'm going to need a different nut. As far as this end, I don't know how that clip fits together, but I guess I'll have to ask them. Otherwise, this will rotate and the top won't. So I gotta email them on this one. But it's a little bit like Christmas around here. We got lots of nice shiny new parts. And oh yes, I also received the other day, if I can find it, where did I put it? The input shaft for the transmission. It's around here somewhere. Ordered it from the States. It's going to replace the one that's there. Now it's not too good that I lost it already. There is the brand new input shaft for the transmission. So that means I'm going to have to take this whole tranny apart to put this in. Well, the summer's almost over and I haven't done an awful lot of work on this vehicle. What I have done is I have been chasing down someone to do the aluminum skin on this frame, and I haven't been able to find anybody. There's one person who did some work for me once before, but he's 73 years old and he doesn't want another project. So I have two other people who were probably capable of doing the job, but for the amount of money that they wanted and the amount of time it was going to take, it didn't make sense. So what I've done is I have contacted the people in England who make this car still, and I've ordered a new tub. So I've got a new frame, new aluminum skin already going to be attached, new inside panels. I'm going to get a roll bar because this thing is dangerous enough as it is. So there's a roll bar that will be attached to the new frame, new hood, new scuttle box. All of the tubing is going to be all brand new. It's all going to be powder coated. And hopefully I won't have too much trouble putting the engine and transmission and rear axle into that frame. I sent them 20 pictures with some drawings and some measurements. Hopefully, when that frame comes here, there won't be too many things that I'll need to modify in order to get it to work. But I'm left with a frame. And I've got all of the panels in another shed. So I don't know. I feel a little bad. When is a restoration not a restoration? I've got a new vehicle coming. I'm going to be putting wheels and tires on it from the old car, but that's hardly, this is the car. So I don't know. It's, I feel a little bad, but at some point it just doesn't make sense. So I don't know, I'm going to hang this one from the ceiling perhaps just to get it out of the way. In the meantime, I've got the transmission still apart. I've got two differentials spread out all over the place. The engine is back. Here's the head from it. So that's all been done. The block is over here. I'm not going to lift that up. Crank's sitting on the floor. There's a few things that are missing still. They forgot to order the rings, so the rings are on back order, so I can't put the engine together yet. But there's not a lot left of the sports car season out there, and I guess I'm going to try and get some of these pieces put together so that when that new frame does come in from England, it'll just be a matter of attaching the suspension and the engine to it, and the thing should be back on the road in the spring. Brand new vehicle. Is it a restoration or not? I don't know. So I feel a little bad about it, but there's some times when practicality has to weigh a little heavier than the tradition. This thing has been redone, it has been sprayed, and it would last a long time, but it had been hit at one point in its career, and it is over 30 years old. So I think the best thing to do would be to put a new frame and a new skin and attach what I have left to that. So there's still a lot of work to be done, but I may end up with two vehicles, or at least 1 3/4.